and welcome back to Maths with Mitch. Today we're going to be looking at the rules of algebra. So you've done it before with arithmetic and now we're going to apply it to algebra. So let's start with number 1, addition. So addition you've seen many times. That is when you add one number to another, or indeed multiple numbers to one another. And that will be in the form, if you look at it algebraically, x plus y. So you're adding the two together and they'll have an addition between them. Addition is also commutative in algebra. So x plus y is the same as y plus x. What I mean by commutative, it doesn't matter which order you write it in, you're still just adding them together and you'll get the same result. Now that's fairly simple to understand, and we'll move now on to subtraction. So next up, subtraction. Again, you've done this with numbers before, so we can look at x minus y. So in this case, you're taking y away from x, and the order does matter. So x minus y is not the same as y minus x. So let's do that with a little explanation. If x was to equal 5 and y was to equal 3, if we put it into the left-hand side here, we would have 5 minus y. So, not 5 minus, well, it is 5 minus y, but I got value for that, so let's write that again. 5 minus 3, and that would give us the result 2. If we were to do it here, we would have 3 minus 5, and that would give us the result negative 2. So that illustrates that subtraction, the order that you write them in, does matter. That makes a difference to the end result, and that is not commutative. But it works in the exact same way as arithmetic, so the rules are the same. In addition, subtraction, the rules are the same as with arithmetic. So now, moving on to multiplication. Let's change the color of the pen. Let's mix it up a bit. Multiplication. Now, mathematically, it works in the same way as arithmetic. However, the way it's written might be a little bit different. So if we have x times y, again, you could say that's the same as y times x. These two are both commutative. Commutative, I think is the right word. I don't know. It's same difference to me. But x times y and y times x, they're the same. So with it, just to prove that point, if you were to do 5 times 3, left-hand side is 15, and then right-hand side, 3 times 5 is, again, 15. So multiplication is commutative and works in the same way regardless of which way around you write it. But you might, in your textbooks, see this written in a few different ways, and it's important to understand how you see it is the same. So we have the concept of implication with multiplication. So it's implied how things are written that it's multiplied. So here you have the multiplication symbol. However, you could remove that and have x, y. And what that means algebraically is x times y. So what I mean by implication is that if there's no symbol there, it's implied they are multiplied. You could write that as yx, but it's common in algebra to write it alphabetically when you're writing them as a multiplication. So you would usually write that as xy. Other ways you may see this is the use of brackets in algebra and what that means in terms of timesing also. So if you were to have, let's introduce a third term. Let's have x outside a bracket with y plus z. What that is saying is you are timesing x by everything in the bracket. So a bracket in itself means a multiplication of what's outside. So you might see this, you could see that written like that, and that would be the same as x times y. You would usually write that as just xy, but the understanding is that a bracket also implies a multiplication. Likewise, if you were to have two brackets, x plus y, and another bracket, a plus b, again this follows the same rule. They're in brackets and there's no operation between them, therefore it's implied they are multiplied. So that is saying that bracket, x plus y, is multiplied by this bracket, a plus b. So the concept of implication is there with multiplication. Lastly, we have division. So you'll have seen this in arithmetic. You might see a fraction or a division, but they mean the same thing. So if you said, let's make it with nice round numbers. If you had 6 divided by 3, that would equal 2. But that's the same as writing 6 over 3. That would also equal 2. So you can write that in multiple ways in arithmetic, and it's the same with algebra, but usually you'd write it as a fraction. So we could have x divided by y, but you would usually write that as x over y. So that's the first thing, is that we'd usually write algebraic division as a fraction. Now again with division is you need to be careful of similar thing with subtraction. It depends the order things are written in as to how those operations are going to work. So if you had x divided by y as we had above, that is not the same as y divided by x. And you can see if we were to do that here, if we did 3 divided by 6, that would give us a half. So it wouldn't be the same answer as 2 here. So the order in which the equation is written and the algebra is written determines the end result. So that is different. Addition and multiplication, doesn't matter which order they're written, you will get the same end result. But subtraction and division, it is important, and you need to make sure that you're following the right notation and you're carrying those terms in the correct way. Now let's have a little think about a bracket and how division might work in that instance. So an example, x plus y, let's put that in the bracket, and we then say we divide the whole thing by z. So what does that look like when you write it as a fraction? So we've said x plus y is in a bracket. And the way it works, you look to the left of from the division, and you're dividing that whole term by this. So it's x plus y. And now previously when we've said that is a fraction, you're going to be writing here, but you can think of that line as a divided by, because you're saying this whole term, x plus y, divided by z. So if you use this line as to think divided by and put z, then that is the same term, x plus y divided by z. So one last one, just to look at a slight difference. If we were to write x divided by y plus z, so it's similar, but we need to be careful of what's different. Now I've put that in a bracket, and it's as you should, because you're capturing that as one term, y plus z. But here, if we follow the same rule that we just looked at there, we said look to the left of the division sign, and we have an x divided by, so we can draw a line. And then this whole term here, because it's in a bracket, y plus z, I would put y plus z on the bottom. Now if you want, you can carry the bracket, and that would denote that that's a single term. But the fact that it's on the bottom of the fraction, it implies that already. So you don't necessarily have to write the bracket there. So that's the basic rules of algebra. We have addition, y plus x, subtraction, y minus x, multiplication, y times x, and understanding the different ways in which you can represent that visually as xy or using a bracket, and then division, and again the fact that we would usually write that in its fractional form. The other key points, addition and multiplication, they're commutative, doesn't matter which way around you write them, as long as you're keeping the terms correct. And subtraction and division, it does really matter which way around you write them, and you must make sure you're always following the right route for that. So there we are, that's the 4 basic rules of how we're going to be managing terms. So join me in the next video and we'll continue that forward and look at the balance of an equation. Thank you for watching.